Good morning, Jack. How are you?
How you doing, man?
Hi, everybody. I'm here with Jack, the unknown picker. He's agreed to come on to our show today. He's seen that there's been some interest. Some people have been viewing our first video, and he's agreed to talk to me about some of his storage unit finds. Jack, start out. How long have you been finding storage units?
40 years.
40 years.
50 years of doing this, but 40 years of buying units.
Really? Have they been doing it that long?
Oh, yeah.
Because that show just came on just about a year ago.
Yeah, well, they've been around for years, believe me.
So they've been doing it for a long time before this show. You think that show gives a pretty realistic view of storage unit auctions? Or
if you wink.
If you wink?
Yeah, no, that's not realistic. They say running the show, those are the best units. It's a hard business, but you can do real well in it if you work hard. It's just like anything else.
So there's big wins to be found if you stick to it.
That's right.
Now there's probably big losses as well.
Oh yeah, you can get some real doozies. I mean, everybody forgets about the dump fees. Your time and labor are important. I'm really retired or semi-retired now. I do this as a hobby, and as you know, I just helped somebody with a store. I bought a bunch of units for them, and they opened up a store. But it's more of a hobby for me right now. But it still works. The same stuff I did 30, 40 years ago, 20 years ago, and it works real well.
Well, I was just at one last week, and I was amazed how high these people were bidding. It was a unit that looked like junk. I didn't see anything of value in it, and the people were bidding it up over $400. What can you do to avoid situations like that?
Stay away from them. Let them hang yourself.
So
it's that show. Everybody's been watching that show. They did this years ago in Southern California, right there. That guy Dan, American Auctioneers, it's on that storage bin unit. I know him well. And they did this. A guy come out with a camera and they took pictures and they sold it. And they sold it in magazines and on what's it? I think they did TV also. And for about 3 or 4 months, everybody went crazy. And then afterwards, they found out that it's not so easy. They got tired of losing money. You can lose money. It's not a sure deal.
And Joe, can you tell me what one of your worst storage unit spends was?
Sure. I bought hundreds and hundreds of units, maybe thousands, and I could give you 3 or 4 pretty bad ones, but I'll give you one that really got me mad one time. There was a unit that I bought in Redlands, California, and I had Russell, Blue, Eric Overly, and another young Jimmy Archer. We were all together, and they'd do the loading. We'd buy it, they'd put it in the truck, and we'd take it to swap meets and flea markets, and we'd sell it right up with the truck. Anyway, I bid $350 on this unit. It was a 10 by 20. I'll never forget it. And I looked in. As I looked in there, it had the markings of a good unit. But you shouldn't bid on what you don't see either. There's nothing else to see. And this was all boxes. Inside those boxes, on the outside of the boxes, there were antiques, collectibles, and gets you kind of excited, you know. Of course, I was young. And
you mean the words antiques, collectibles, or
somebody had written that on it.
Oh, okay.
Fragile, and there was probably 250, maybe even 300 boxes, and they were taped up beautifully. Well, I got it for $350, and we opened it up, and every one of them was newspapers. And I'm not talking about collectible newspapers. I'm talking about
just empty newspapers.
Just newspapers.
So you got a bin of boxed newspapers for $350?
Well, I was cussing, and I wasn't too happy. My friends told me to get that. They said, "Get the hell out of here. Go get a coffee or something." Because I was upset that I'd been so stupid. Because there was a lot of work in that. So we loaded. It took like $100 to take that to the dump, by the way, at that time. So I went over to a restaurant, sat down, and had a coffee. But while I was having that coffee, I looked across the street and there was a little antique store, and I picked up one of the greatest finds of my life.
Really? What was it?
An artist named Virgil Ross. He did Bugs Bunny for 40 years. He had given a woman that her husband had left her and went to South America because of a big vitamin scandal back in the 50s. And Virgil Ross, the animator, before he was married, she was his mistress. And he gave her 101 pieces of animation from a very famous cartoon, hand done. And I bought it that day for $800.
So you bought it from the antique shop?
Yep.
So, so not part of the storage unit find, but kind of related because it happened right after.
But it took me a day or two to find out how good that was. When I took it home, my wife thought I was crazy for paying that much for 102 pieces of paper.
And she's probably mad about the storage unit as well.
No, I didn't tell her about that.
Well, looking back on that, is there any way you could have avoided that?
Sure. Don't buy what you can't see. It's okay to pick out a certain number of boxes and then multiply it by a certain number to protect yourself. But this was pretty deceiving, actually. But not only was it deceiving, there was nothing else to see but the boxes. So, heck, you might as well go to a casino.
So is it better to go where half the boxes are open where you can see something, or?
I like closed boxes. I like them taped up, and overall, that's the rule. You go to some storage bin sales and you look at some of the boxes and they have 2 pieces of tape. In other words, somebody's put it in, taped it, cut it open, looked through it again, put it back in, and taped it again. That's not a good sign.
It's a sign of a bad auctioneer,
Yeah,
it sounds like.
Yeah, it sounds like a bad sign of either the people come in and got it up and taped it back up, which is really unlikely, or whoever was going through it. Maybe, of course, it could be the spouse. It could be the husband or wife come back by themselves and tape it up. But as a rule, it's unscrupulous people that are involved.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing that with me, Joe. And on our next
I wish I could have shared that one with you. Well, you saw a unit last week.
Yeah, like I said, I saw them. I saw absolutely.
You bought a unit for $80, remember?
Well, you know that you see all types of units, but on our next episode, we're going to talk about some of your better units and kind of compare them and figure out if we could find out how to master this game.
As time goes on, you learn. You teach yourself. And there's one thing I noticed as the years go by and the more experience you get, as soon as the door opens up, you know. I don't know why. It must be just like if you're a doctor and you examine a patient, you have a good indication of what's wrong with them. Or if you're a mechanic and somebody tells you about the car, you look at the car and listen to it, you know what's wrong with it. For some reason, after 30, 40, or 50 years, when you open up that storage unit, all that stuff in there, you've got a little edge because of your experience. It's the same as anything else.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for stopping in today, Joe, and hopefully we'll see you again real soon.
Okay, buddy.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.